Hi, Peter Charles here of Hooked for Life Fly Fishing. And you've known in the past I've done a lot of videos on leaders and talking about the difference between using factory mono leaders made out of nylon and using fluorocarbon leaders, either factory made or making your own. And I've talked about the effects, but I thought, you know what, it'd be a good idea for a wet fly tactics video to actually show you the effects of using one type of leader over another in different water conditions and the results that you get. So I've got a sample here of this video where I've got two scenarios, a slow water and a faster water scenario, and I'm going to get into the differences between them and the depth the fly was running at. And this is quite interesting. So in this particular video, I'll move it along a little bit further, there we go. I am fishing very slow water conditions, and I saw fish right downstream of me. You might have seen this in a previous video. You've seen this a couple of times probably. And I'm dropping the fly down to the fish. All right, so I'm letting it drop down, and I'm keeping minimal tension. The fly is barely moving slower than the current, and the fish takes it. And let's stop it right there. You can see right here that the fish has broken the surface of the water, and you know, we can even magnify it and you can see that the nose of the fish has come up, and I hooked the fish. So let's look at this for a moment. I was using this particular leader here, a leader like this. I think it was probably 5X, and it's made out of nylon, and the specific gravity of nylon is 1.06. Specific gravity of water is 1. So anything bigger than 1 sinks, but 1.06 is itsy bitsy bitsy more than water. So nylon sinks extremely slowly in water, and in fact, if it's greased a little bit, just your skin oils can make it float. I mean, put a little bit of liquid fly floating over it, it'll stay on top all day. So the result of this particular leader, using this leader in these conditions, and I'm using this Cahill wet fly here, which, you know, as you can see, is a relatively sleek design and penetrates well. It's tied on a heavy wet fly hook, and this thing was like this much out of the water. So when the fish hit it, they broke the surface. So the bottom line here with this kind of fishing is if you use a dry fly leader like this one, and you know, you're using it with a wet fly, you're not going to get very far down. Let me back up. I got a little bit ahead of myself here. Okay, I'm swinging a fly here, and it's on a fluorocarbon leader. So this fluorocarbon leader, not this particular type, but it was a homemade one, but nevertheless, it was a fluorocarbon leader. And I'm swinging out, and I've decided I'm going to pick up the line to make a cast, and I hit a sunken branch from that downed tree, which I didn't see. So it was enough under the water that I couldn't see it. And my fly was quite far down, so I did get it out. Now, look at the fly, this Critchley hackle here. It's got a lot of webby hackle here. It's a higher drag fly than the Cahill wet. And look at the specific gravity of fluorocarbon. It's 1.77. So when we're using fluorocarbon, we're using material that's a lot denser than nylon mono. So because it's denser, it sinks. And it brought that fairly bulky fly down far enough that it hooked into a sunken branch that I didn't even see. It's probably about that far under the water, if the truth is known. I'm not sure exactly how far under the water it was, but I couldn't see it from my position, and I snagged it. Now, I did get it off, but the point of the matter is the separation, yes, the difference between having a fluorocarbon leader and a nylon leader made a huge difference in the depth. And look at the current speed. I mean, that's some significant current speed going on there. And, you know, when I'm looking at these types of leaders, you know, you can get this kind of leader here, which is made out of fluorocarbon. There's a considerable difference in the depth that you can sink the same fly in the same current. And it's simply because of the difference in the specific gravity of the line. Fluorocarbon has a much higher specific gravity, which means it sinks a lot better. And as a consequence, it goes down and it brings your fly down with it, or allows the fly to get down more precisely. The fly will sink on its own, but it gives the fly the chance to get down, whereas the monoleader holds it up. So what this means for us is to be aware of what fluorocarbon versus nylon does when we're fishing, and allows us to make choices as to the presentation we want. So do we want a presentation that's just below the surface, an emerger situation where the bug is coming up and ready to split its skin open and emerge, or do we want something that's a lot deeper? And just changing leaders can have that effect. So just don't chuck a leader on without thinking, and don't just use fluorocarbon because it's supposed to be less visible. You may end up getting a deeper presentation than you want. So it works both ways. Sometimes you want it shallow, sometimes you want it deep. Be aware that the type of leader you're using has a big influence on that. And if you were using, let's say, a intermediate line with a mono leader, it may not go down as quickly as you would like. The fly may hang up a little bit. So combining an intermediate line with fluorocarbon leader allows a small fly to get down with the line. So you're fishing down where you think you're fishing. So keep that all in mind. Don't just grab one of these and automatically put it on without thinking of the consequences. So give that some thought. Cheers.